What is deep work? Imagine sitting down to work on something important. You open your laptop. 5 minutes later, you check your phone. Then an email notification appears. A text message arrives. You open YouTube for just a minute. Then Instagram. Then another tab. Before you know it, an entire hour has disappeared. Here's the scary part. Most people don't even realize this is happening. Research shows that after an interruption, it can take a surprisingly long time to fully regain focus. Yet most of us experience dozens of interruptions every single day. What if I told you that the biggest difference between average performers and world-class performers is not intelligence, talent, luck, or education? It's their ability to focus. And that's exactly what today's book is about. In Deep Work, Cal Newport reveals a powerful skill that has become incredibly rare in today's distracted world. At the same time, it has become more valuable than ever before. This one skill can help you learn faster, produce better results, earn more money, and create opportunities that most people never experience. The best part? Anyone can develop it. By the end of this summary, you'll understand how some of the world's most successful people achieve extraordinary results while everyone else struggles with endless distractions. And you'll learn exactly how to apply these principles in your own life. Let's begin. The book we're discussing today is Deep Work by Cal Newport. Cal Newport is a computer science professor, author, and productivity expert who has spent years studying how people produce valuable work in an increasingly distracted world. Unlike many productivity gurus, Newport doesn't rely on motivational quotes or feel-good advice. Instead, he focuses on evidence, real-world examples, and practical systems. His central idea is simple. The ability to perform deep work is becoming rare. But it is also becoming extremely valuable. This creates a huge opportunity for anyone willing to develop this skill. So what exactly is deep work? Cal Newport defines deep work as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive abilities to their limits. In simpler terms, deep work is focused effort on something important without distractions. It's the kind of work that creates real value. It's when a writer creates a book. A programmer builds software. A student masters a difficult subject. An entrepreneur develops a business strategy. A designer creates a remarkable product. During deep work, your entire attention is focused on one meaningful task. No multitasking. No notifications. No checking social media. No switching between 10 different tabs. Just complete concentration. Now compare this with what Newport calls shallow work. Shallow work includes activities that are easy, repetitive, and often performed while distracted. Things like constantly checking email, attending unnecessary meetings, scrolling social media, replying to messages all day, updating spreadsheets without thinking. These tasks may feel productive, but they rarely create significant value. Here's a simple example. Imagine two people working for 8 hours. The first person spends the day answering emails, checking notifications, attending meetings, and jumping between tasks. The second person spends 4 uninterrupted hours solving an important problem and creating something valuable. Who will produce better results? The answer is obvious. Yet most people spend their days like the first person. And that's exactly why deep work is such a competitive advantage point. One of the most powerful ideas in this book is that busyness and productivity are not the same thing. Many people wear busyness like a badge of honor. They say things like, "I'm so busy. I've been working all day. I haven't had a break." But being busy doesn't automatically mean you're creating value. You can spend an entire day reacting to messages and still accomplish almost nothing important. Meanwhile, someone else can spend 2 focused hours on meaningful work and create more value than most people produce in a week. Think about famous authors. When they write a book, they don't constantly check notifications every few minutes. They disappear into focused work. Think about scientists making breakthroughs. Think about entrepreneurs building companies. Think about engineers designing innovative products. Their greatest achievements happen during periods of deep concentration. Not during endless scrolling. Not during constant interruptions, and not during multitasking. This brings us to an uncomfortable truth. Modern technology is making deep work harder than ever. Every app is competing for your attention, every platform wants more engagement, every notification is designed to pull you away from what matters. Attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the world. And countless companies are fighting to capture it. As a result, many people have trained themselves to be distracted. They feel uncomfortable when there's no stimulation. The moment boredom appears, they reach for their phones. The moment work becomes difficult, they seek an easier distraction. Over time, this weakens their ability to focus. It's like a muscle that never gets exercised. Imagine going to the gym once a year and expecting incredible strength. It wouldn't happen. Focus works the same way. The more you practice concentration, the stronger it becomes. The more you practice distraction, the weaker your focus becomes. This is why deep work is not simply a productivity technique. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. Here's something fascinating. Most people believe they need more time to achieve their goals. But often, they don't need more time. They need more focus. Think about your own life. How many hours have disappeared because of distractions? How many important projects remain unfinished? How many opportunities have been delayed because attention was scattered? Now imagine directing that same time and energy toward meaningful work. Imagine focusing completely for 1 hour. Then 2 hours, then 3. The results would be extraordinary. And that's exactly what Cal Newport wants readers to understand. The future belongs to people who can focus deeply. Because while everyone else is becoming more distracted, focused individuals become more valuable. This creates a massive advantage. And in the next part of this summary, we'll explore why deep work is becoming one of the most valuable skills in the modern economy, why focus can dramatically increase your income and opportunities, and why the people who master this skill are often the ones who achieve extraordinary success. One of the most important ideas in deep work is that the modern economy rewards a very specific type of person. Not the busiest person. Not the loudest person. Not even the person working the longest hours. The biggest rewards often go to people who can quickly learn difficult things and consistently produce work at an elite level. Think about the most successful professionals in today's world. Software engineers build products used by millions. Entrepreneurs create businesses that transform industries. Writers publish books that influence generations. Designers create experiences used around the world. What do they all have in common? They rely on their ability to think deeply. And that's where deep work becomes a powerful advantage. Cal Newport explains that there are two core abilities becoming increasingly valuable in the modern economy. The first is the ability to quickly master hard things. The second is the ability to produce high-quality work at an exceptional speed. Both require deep work. Imagine trying to learn a new programming language while checking your phone every few minutes. Imagine studying for an important exam while constantly switching between social media apps. Imagine writing a business plan while responding to notifications all day. It's almost impossible to perform at your best under those conditions. Learning requires focus. Growth requires focus. Mastery requires focus. The people who develop this ability gain a tremendous advantage over those who don't. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two employees working at the same company. Both are intelligent. Both have similar education. Both work similar hours. But one employee spends most of the day reacting to emails, attending unnecessary meetings, and multitasking. The other employee blocks uninterrupted periods of time for focused work, learns valuable skills, and consistently produces meaningful results. Who do you think becomes more valuable over time? Who gets promoted? Who earns more opportunities? Who becomes harder to replace? The answer becomes obvious after a few years. The gap continues growing because focused effort compounds. Just like money grows through compound interest, skills grow through concentrated practice. Every hour of deep work adds to previous hours. The benefits build on themselves. This creates what Newport calls a positive cycle. Deep work helps you learn faster. Learning faster helps you create better work. Better work creates better opportunities. Better opportunities motivate even more focused effort. Over time, the results become extraordinary. Now here's something interesting. Many people assume that successful individuals are naturally disciplined. But often, they simply understand the importance of protecting their attention. Attention is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Once it's fragmented, your performance suffers. Imagine trying to read a book while someone interrupts you every 2 minutes. Imagine trying to solve a difficult math problem while constantly checking messages. Imagine trying to write an important presentation while jumping between 10 browser tabs. Your brain never gets the chance to enter a state of deep concentration. And without deep concentration, your best work remains trapped inside you. This is why Newport argues that deep work is becoming a superpower. As technology becomes more distracting, focused people stand out even more. Think about how rare true concentration has become. Walk into a coffee shop. Look around. Most people are switching between apps, checking notifications, scrolling feeds, and responding to messages. Very few are fully engaged with one task. That rarity creates value. Whenever a skill becomes rare and valuable at the same time, it becomes highly rewarded. Deep work fits that description perfectly. Another reason deep work matters is because of automation. Every year, technology becomes more capable. Artificial intelligence can perform many routine tasks. Software automates repetitive work. Machines handle processes that once required human effort. As automation expands, shallow work becomes less valuable. Simple tasks can often be outsourced, automated, or delegated. But complex thinking remains valuable. Creative problem solving remains valuable. Innovation remains valuable. Original ideas remain valuable. And all of these require deep work. This means the future will increasingly reward people who can do what machines cannot easily replicate. The ability to focus deeply, connect ideas, solve difficult problems, and create meaningful value will become even more important. Now let's talk about something many people experience but rarely understand. Have you ever spent an entire day working and still felt like you accomplished nothing important? You were busy from morning until evening. You answered emails. You attended meetings. You responded to messages. You completed small tasks, yet at the end of the day, there was no significant progress. This happens because shallow work creates the illusion of productivity. It feels productive because you're constantly doing something. But motion is not the same as progress. Imagine running on a treadmill. You're moving. You're sweating. You're working hard. But you're not actually getting closer to a destination. Shallow work often works the same way. Deep work, on the other hand, moves you forward. It creates outcomes. It produces results. It builds skills. It generates value. And perhaps most importantly, it creates a sense of satisfaction. Think about the last time you became completely absorbed in something meaningful. Maybe you were writing. Maybe you were designing. Maybe you were studying. Maybe you were building something. Hours seemed to disappear. Your attention was fully engaged. You felt challenged but capable. When you finished, there was a deep sense of accomplishment. Psychologists often call this state flow. Deep work creates the conditions for flow. And flow is one of the most rewarding experiences humans can have. People often assume happiness comes from relaxation. But research suggests something surprising. Many of our most fulfilling moments come from challenging activities that require complete engagement. In other words, meaningful effort often creates more satisfaction than passive entertainment. This explains why endless scrolling rarely leaves us feeling fulfilled. It provides stimulation. But not fulfillment. Deep work provides both challenge and meaning. That's why people often feel energized after creating something valuable. They feel connected to a purpose larger than immediate gratification. And this brings us to another powerful lesson from the book. A meaningful life is often built through meaningful work. Not necessarily a specific job title. Not necessarily fame or wealth, but the act of applying your abilities toward valuable goals. Deep work allows you to do that. It helps transform ordinary effort into extraordinary results. It helps transform potential into achievement. And it helps transform time into something valuable. The question is no longer whether deep work matters. The evidence is clear. The real question is how to develop it in a world designed to destroy your focus. Fortunately, Cal Newport doesn't just explain why deep work is important. He provides a practical system for developing it. By this point, one thing should be clear. Deep work is incredibly valuable. But knowing something is valuable and actually doing it are two completely different things. Most people understand that focus matters. They know distractions hurt productivity. They know social media consumes time. Yet they still struggle to concentrate. Why? Because deep work doesn't happen by accident. It requires training. It requires structure. And most importantly, it requires intention. This brings us to the first major rule in Cal Newport's system. Work deeply. At first, this advice sounds obvious. Of course, you need to work deeply to perform deep work. But Newport's point is much deeper than that. He argues that willpower alone is not enough. Many people believe they can simply decide to focus whenever necessary. The problem is that willpower is limited. Every decision drains a small amount of mental energy. Every distraction creates temptation. Every notification competes for attention. If your ability to focus depends entirely on motivation, you'll eventually lose the battle. That's why successful people don't rely on motivation. They build systems. Think about professional athletes. They don't wake up every day asking themselves whether they feel like training. They follow routines. The routine removes uncertainty. The routine makes action automatic. Deep workers operate the same way. Instead of waiting for inspiration, they create environments that support concentration. Newport explains that there are several approaches to deep work. One approach is the monastic philosophy. This method involves eliminating or minimizing shallow obligations as much as possible. Some famous writers, scientists, and thinkers have used this strategy. They isolate themselves from distractions and dedicate most of their time to meaningful work. While this approach isn't realistic for everyone, it demonstrates an important principle. Great achievements often require periods of isolation. Consider a novelist writing a book. They can't create a masterpiece while constantly responding to text messages. They need uninterrupted thinking time. The same principle applies whether you're writing software, building a business, studying, or creating content. Another approach is the bimodal philosophy. This method divides time between deep work and everything else. A person might dedicate entire days to focused work and reserve other days for meetings, communication, and administrative tasks. Many successful academics follow this model. They protect large blocks of uninterrupted time while still handling necessary responsibilities. Then there's the rhythmic philosophy. This is often the most practical approach for ordinary people. Instead of waiting for huge blocks of free time, you schedule deep work consistently. Maybe it's 2 hours every morning. Maybe it's 90 minutes before work. Maybe it's a dedicated evening session. The key is consistency. When focus becomes a habit, it requires less effort. Imagine someone who exercises every morning. At first, it feels difficult. But eventually it becomes automatic. Deep work functions the same way. The more regularly you practice it, the easier it becomes. One of Newport's most powerful recommendations is to create rituals around deep work. A ritual signals to your brain that it's time to focus. Think about your current habits. Maybe you drink coffee every morning. Maybe you brush your teeth before bed. These routines happen almost automatically. The brain loves patterns. Deep work rituals take advantage of this tendency. For example, you might always begin deep work at the same desk. You might use noise-canceling headphones. You might clear your workspace. You might start with a specific playlist. Over time, these cues train your mind to enter a focused state more quickly. Professional performers often use similar techniques. Athletes have pre-game routines. Musicians have preparation rituals. Public speakers follow specific patterns before stepping on stage. These routines help them perform at their best. The same principle applies to knowledge work. Another important lesson is that your environment matters more than you think. Many people try to focus in environments designed for distraction. Their phones are within reach. Notifications are active. Social media tabs remain open. The television is running in the background. Then they wonder why concentration feels impossible. Your environment constantly influences your behavior. Imagine placing a bowl of candy on your desk. You'll probably eat more candy. Imagine placing your phone directly beside your keyboard. You'll probably check it more often. Small environmental changes create significant behavioral changes. This is why Newport recommends designing your environment intentionally. Remove unnecessary distractions. Create a workspace associated with concentration. Make focused work easier and distractions harder. One fascinating concept in the book is productive meditation. This doesn't mean sitting cross-legged and clearing your mind. Instead, it involves focusing on a specific problem while doing a physically repetitive activity. For example, you might think deeply about a business challenge while walking. You might develop ideas during a run. You might solve a creative problem during a long drive. The goal is to train your mind to remain focused on one issue instead of wandering aimlessly. Most people never practice concentration. As a result, their minds jump from thought to thought. Productive meditation strengthens mental control. It teaches your brain to stay engaged with difficult problems. This skill becomes extremely valuable during deep work sessions. Another mistake people make is expecting focus to feel easy. Deep work is challenging by definition. If it feels difficult, that's normal. In fact, difficulty is often a sign that you're doing meaningful work. Think about physical exercise. When muscles grow stronger, they experience resistance. Mental growth works similarly. When you're learning complex ideas or solving difficult problems, your brain experiences resistance. Many people interpret this discomfort as a signal to stop. Deep workers interpret it differently. They understand that growth often feels uncomfortable. This mindset creates a huge advantage. Because while others escape discomfort through distractions, focused individuals push through it. And on the other side of that discomfort lies progress. There is another reason rituals and systems matter. They reduce decision fatigue. Every day, people make countless decisions. What should I do first? Should I check email? Should I start this project now? Should I wait until later? Each decision consumes mental energy. Deep workers eliminate many of these decisions. Their schedule already contains dedicated focus time. The decision has been made in advance. When the time arrives, they simply begin. This may sound simple, but its impact is enormous. Success often depends less on motivation and more on reducing friction. The easier it becomes to start deep work, the more likely you'll do it consistently. And consistency always beats occasional bursts of effort. By now, you can probably see a pattern. Deep work isn't about heroic acts of discipline. It's about creating systems that make focus possible. It's about designing your life in a way that supports concentration rather than constantly fighting against distraction. But even if you create the perfect schedule, one major obstacle remains. The modern world is full of distractions competing for your attention every second of the day. And unless you learn how to control those distractions, deep work will always remain out of reach. One of the biggest myths in modern life is that distractions are harmless. People often think checking their phone for a minute doesn't matter. Looking at social media for a few minutes seems innocent. Reading a notification feels insignificant. But Cal Newport argues that these small interruptions carry a hidden cost. Every time you switch your attention, your brain pays a price. Imagine you're working on an important project. You're fully engaged. Your mind is focused. Then a notification appears. You glance at it for a few seconds and return to work. Most people assume they immediately regain their concentration. But that's not what actually happens. Part of your attention remains attached to the interruption. Your brain continues thinking about the message, the email, or the notification even after you've returned to work. This is known as attention residue. A portion of your focus stays behind. And when this happens repeatedly throughout the day, your ability to think deeply disappears. This explains why many people spend hours working but accomplish very little. Their attention is constantly fragmented. Their minds never fully settle into deep concentration. To understand how serious this problem is, think about the average smartphone user. Many people check their phones dozens or even hundreds of times per day. Sometimes they aren't even aware they're doing it. A moment of boredom appears. The phone comes out. A task becomes difficult. The phone comes out. A few seconds of silence appear. The phone comes out. Over time, this behavior trains the brain to avoid focus. The mind becomes addicted to novelty. It starts craving constant stimulation. As a result, sustained concentration begins to feel uncomfortable. This is exactly what modern technology companies want. Their business models depend on capturing attention. Every extra minute you spend scrolling creates value for them. Every notification is carefully designed to bring you back. Every recommendation is. Sounds simple, but its effects are powerful. Imagine two people. The first person instantly reaches for their phone whenever boredom appears. The second person allows moments of silence and stillness. After a year, their brains will function differently. One has trained distraction. The other has trained focus. Which person will find deep work easier? The answer is obvious. Newport also discusses the dangers of multitasking. Many people believe multitasking makes them more productive. In reality, most multitasking is simply rapid task switching. The brain jumps from one activity to another. Every switch consumes mental energy. Every switch reduces efficiency. Imagine trying to read a book while watching television and responding to text messages at the same time. You might technically perform all three activities, but none of them receive your full attention. The quality suffers. Deep work requires the opposite approach. Single tasking. One task. One objective. One focus. Nothing else. This may feel unusual at first because modern culture encourages constant switching. But extraordinary results rarely come from divided attention. They come from complete engagement. Another practical strategy Newport recommends is scheduling internet use instead of allowing internet use to schedule you. Most people use the internet whenever the urge appears. A notification arrives. They check it. A thought appears. They search it. A moment of boredom occurs. They browse. The result is constant fragmentation. Instead, Newport suggests creating specific times for online activity. During focus sessions, the internet is ignored unless absolutely necessary. This simple rule dramatically improves concentration. Because every interruption avoided protects your mental momentum. Momentum is incredibly important. Once your brain reaches a state of deep concentration, performance increases significantly. Ideas connect more easily. Problems become clearer. Creativity improves. But momentum is fragile. One unnecessary distraction can destroy it. That's why protecting your attention matters so much. As you begin implementing these ideas, you'll notice something interesting. The urge to check your phone doesn't disappear immediately. In fact, it may become stronger. That's normal. You're breaking a habit. And habits resist change. But if you remain consistent, the urge gradually weakens. Focus becomes easier. Concentration lasts longer. Deep work becomes more natural. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. But it does happen. And once it begins, the results are remarkable. People often report feeling calmer, more productive, more creative, less overwhelmed. They start accomplishing meaningful work in less time. They regain control over their attention. And perhaps most importantly, they stop feeling controlled by technology. Because the ultimate goal isn't to eliminate technology. The goal is to ensure technology serves your goals instead of replacing them. Now that we've learned how to reduce distractions, the next challenge is even more important. It's not enough to remove what's hurting your focus. You must also actively build the ability to concentrate at elite levels. Removing distractions is only half the battle. You can put your phone away. You can close unnecessary tabs. You can turn off notifications. But if your mind hasn't been trained to focus, deep work will still feel difficult. This is why Cal Newport emphasizes something many people overlook. Focus is a skill. And like any skill, it improves through deliberate practice. Think about a professional athlete. They don't become elite by reading about fitness. They become elite by training consistently. The same principle applies to concentration. Every deep work session is a workout for your brain. The more you practice, the stronger your focus becomes. The less you practice, the weaker it becomes. This means your goal should not be perfection. Your goal should be training. Many people make the mistake of expecting themselves to focus perfectly for hours on the very first day. When they struggle, they assume something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Focus develops gradually. Just as nobody walks into a gym and immediately lifts enormous weights, nobody develops world-class concentration overnight. Start small. Protect 1 hour of uninterrupted focus. Then increase it. Build the habit. Strengthen the muscle. Over time, you'll be surprised by how much your concentration improves. One of the most effective tools Newport recommends is time blocking. Most people work from a to-do list. They wake up, look at their tasks, and try to complete them whenever possible. The problem is that the day quickly becomes reactive. Unexpected emails appear. Meetings get added. Messages arrive. Distractions multiply. Before long, important work gets pushed aside. Time blocking solves this problem. Instead of simply creating a list of tasks, you assign specific blocks of time to specific activities. For example, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. you work on a major project. From 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. you handle communication. From 10:30 a.m. to noon you focus on learning or creative work. Every hour has a purpose. Every task has a place. This approach dramatically increases intentionality. Instead of constantly deciding what to do next, you follow a plan. The result is less decision fatigue and more meaningful progress. Another powerful concept is respecting your energy. Many people schedule important work whenever they happen to find free time. But deep work requires mental energy. And mental energy fluctuates throughout the day. Pay attention to your natural patterns. When do you feel most focused? When is your thinking sharpest? For some people, it's early morning, for others, it's late evening. The exact timing doesn't matter. What matters is protecting your highest energy hours for your most important work. Don't waste your best mental hours on low-value activities. Use them for deep work. Use them for learning. Use them for creating. Use them for solving difficult problems. This single adjustment can dramatically increase productivity. Another lesson from Newport involves embracing quality over quantity. Many people believe success comes from working longer hours. But deep work challenges this assumption. A highly focused hour often produces more value than several distracted hours. Imagine a writer spending 3 hours in complete concentration. Now compare that with someone spending 8 hours constantly switching between social media, email, and writing. Who creates better work? Who progresses faster? Who improves more quickly? The answer is obvious. Intensity often matters more than duration. This doesn't mean working less. It means working better. It means making your hours count. One fascinating idea in the book is that deep work becomes easier when your life contains clear priorities. Many people struggle with focus because they haven't decided what truly matters. Every opportunity looks important. Every request seems urgent. Every distraction feels tempting. As a result, attention becomes scattered. But when priorities are clear, decisions become easier. You know what deserves your focus. You know what deserves your energy. You know what deserves your time. Clarity creates concentration. Without clarity, focus becomes difficult. With clarity, focus becomes natural. Another challenge many people face is the fear of missing out. They worry they'll miss a message, miss an update, miss an opportunity, miss some important piece of information. But Newport encourages readers to think differently. Every time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. Every hour spent scrolling is an hour not spent creating. Every distraction has an opportunity cost. The question isn't simply what you're gaining. The question is also what you're sacrificing. This shift in perspective is powerful because it reveals the hidden cost of distraction. It's not just the time you lose. It's the progress you never make. It's the skills you never develop. It's the opportunities you never create. When viewed this way, protecting your focus becomes much easier. Newport also emphasizes the importance of ending work intentionally. Many people allow work to spill into every part of their lives. Emails continue at night. Notifications continue during dinner. Thoughts about work continue before bed. The result is constant mental exhaustion. Instead, he recommends creating a clear shutdown ritual. At the end of the workday, review your tasks. Make a plan for tomorrow. Organize unfinished work. Then consciously end the day. This allows your mind to recover. And recovery is essential. Elite performers don't just work intensely. They also rest intentionally. Your brain needs periods of recovery to maintain high performance. Without recovery, focus declines. Creativity decreases. Motivation suffers. Deep work and deep rest work together. One makes the other possible. Think about professional athletes again. They don't train at maximum intensity 24 hours a day. Recovery is part of the process. The same principle applies to mental performance. Rest is not laziness. Rest is preparation. The better you recover, the better you perform. As people begin practicing these habits, something remarkable happens. They start producing work they're genuinely proud of. Not rushed work. Not distracted work. Not average work. Meaningful work. High-quality work. The kind of work that opens doors. The kind of work that builds reputations. The kind of work that changes careers. And this brings us to one of the most inspiring parts of the book. Throughout history, many extraordinary achievements were created through deep work. Writers, scientists, entrepreneurs, inventors, and creators have used intense concentration to accomplish things that once seemed impossible. At this point, the benefits of deep work may sound impressive in theory. But the real question is simple. Does it actually work in the real world? According to Cal Newport, the answer is absolutely yes. History is filled with examples of people who achieved extraordinary results because they mastered the ability to focus. These individuals lived in different eras, worked in different industries, and pursued different goals. Yet they shared one common trait. They protected their attention. And because of that, they produced work that changed their lives and often changed the world. Think about great authors. A best-selling book doesn't appear because someone checked social media every few minutes. It requires months or years of concentrated effort. Page after page. Chapter after chapter. Revision after revision. The final product may look effortless, but behind it are countless hours of deep work. The same is true for scientists. Many of history's greatest discoveries were not created during meetings or while responding to endless messages. They emerged from long periods of focused thinking. Scientists often spent hours wrestling with difficult questions. They sat with problems most people would abandon. They concentrated deeply enough to see connections others missed. Entrepreneurs provide another powerful example. When people look at successful companies, they often focus on the outcome. They see the money, the recognition, the influence. But they rarely see the countless hours of focused effort that made those achievements possible. Every successful business begins with someone solving a difficult problem. And solving difficult problems requires concentration. Imagine an entrepreneur trying to create a new product. The process demands creativity, planning, analysis, and decision-making. None of those activities happen at their highest level during constant distraction. The entrepreneur who can focus deeply gains a significant advantage. The same principle applies. At this point, the benefits of deep work may sound impressive in theory. But the real question is simple. Does it actually work in the real world? According to Cal Newport, the answer is absolutely yes. History is filled with examples of people who achieved extraordinary results because they mastered the ability to focus. These individuals lived in different eras, worked in different industries, and pursued different goals. Yet they shared one common trait. They protected their attention. And because of that, they produced work that changed their lives and often changed the world. Think about great authors. A best-selling book doesn't appear because someone checked social media every few minutes. It requires months or years of concentrated effort. Page after page. Chapter after chapter. Revision after revision. The final product may look effortless, but behind it are countless hours of deep work. The same is true for scientists. Many of history's greatest discoveries were not created during meetings or while responding to endless messages. They emerged from long periods of focused thinking. Scientists often spent hours wrestling with difficult questions. They sat with problems most people would abandon. They concentrated deeply enough to see connections others missed. Entrepreneurs provide another powerful example. When people look at successful companies, they often focus on the outcome. They see the money, the recognition, the influence. But they rarely see the countless hours of focused effort that made those achievements possible. Every successful business begins with someone solving a difficult problem. And solving difficult problems requires concentration. Imagine an entrepreneur trying to create a new product. The process demands creativity, planning, analysis, and decision-making. None of those activities happen at their highest level during constant distraction. The entrepreneur who can focus deeply gains a significant advantage. The same principle applies to content creators. Many people dream of building successful YouTube channels, podcasts, blogs, or online businesses. But very few are willing to sit down and focus intensely on improving their craft. Most people consume. A smaller group creates. An even smaller group creates with complete concentration. That final group often produces the highest quality work. And quality tends to win over time. This is one reason deep work compounds. Every focused session improves your skills. Improved skills lead to better output. Better output creates better opportunities. Better opportunities create even more growth. The cycle continues. Let's imagine two creators starting on the same day. Both have similar talent. Both have similar resources. Both want success. The first creator spends most of their time distracted. They constantly compare themselves to others. They switch between projects. They chase trends. They rarely give full attention to one thing. The second creator dedicates focused blocks of time to improving. They study their craft. They practice deliberately. They learn from mistakes. They consistently perform deep work. Who do you think will be ahead after 1 year? What about 3 years? What about 5 years? The difference becomes massive. Not because one person was naturally gifted, but because one person consistently invested in deep work. This idea should be encouraging, because it means extraordinary results are often more accessible than people think. Many people assume success belongs only to geniuses, but Newport argues that focus frequently matters more than raw talent. Talent helps. Intelligence helps. Resources help. But none of them can fully compensate for a complete lack of concentration. On the other hand, focused effort can dramatically amplify your existing abilities. This is why average individuals sometimes outperform naturally talented people. They simply apply their attention more effectively. Another example comes from the world of learning. Imagine two students preparing for an important exam. One studies while checking social media every few minutes. The other studies in complete concentration. Even if both spend the same amount of time studying, their results will likely be very different. The focused student absorbs information more deeply. They understand concepts better. They remember more. And they learn faster. This demonstrates one of Newport's most important ideas. Deep work accelerates learning. And in a rapidly changing world, the ability to learn quickly is one of the most valuable skills you can possess. Technology changes. Industries evolve. New opportunities appear. The people who adapt fastest often succeed fastest. And adaptation requires learning. Deep work makes learning more effective. This creates another powerful advantage. Now let's talk about something even more important than success. Fulfillment. Many people assume deep work is only about productivity. But Newport argues that it also improves the quality of life. Why? Because humans are wired to find satisfaction in meaningful effort. Think about the activities that make you feel genuinely proud. They usually aren't passive activities. They involve effort, growth, challenge, progress. When you complete a difficult project, you feel accomplished. When you master a new skill, you feel confident. When you create something valuable, you feel fulfilled. Deep work creates these experiences regularly. Instead of spending hours consuming content, you spend time creating value. Instead of reacting to the world, you actively shape your future. This shift changes how work feels. Work becomes more meaningful. Progress becomes more visible. Life becomes more intentional. One of the most inspiring lessons from deep work is that attention ultimately shapes your reality. Whatever receives your attention grows. Whatever consistently receives your focus influences your future. If distractions receive your attention, distractions shape your life. If meaningful work receives your attention, meaningful work shapes your life. This principle applies everywhere. In business. In education. In relationships. In personal growth. Attention is the foundation upon which results are built. And that means every day presents a choice. Will you allow distractions to control your attention? Or will you direct your attention toward what matters most? The answer to that question determines far more than most people realize. By now, you've seen how deep work creates career advantages, accelerates learning, improves productivity, and increases fulfillment. But knowing these ideas isn't enough. Knowledge without action changes nothing. Now it's time to turn these ideas into action. Because reading about deep work is valuable. Understanding deep work is valuable. But the real transformation happens when you start applying it. The good news is that you don't need a perfect schedule, a private office, or unlimited free time to begin. You only need a commitment to protect your attention. Let's imagine you're starting from scratch. The first step is identifying your most important work. Most people spend their days reacting instead of creating. They respond to emails. They answer messages. They handle small tasks. By the end of the day, they're exhausted but haven't moved significantly closer to their goals. Deep work begins when you ask a simple question. What activity would create the greatest positive impact in my life if I improved at it consistently? For a student, it might be studying. For an entrepreneur, it might be building the business. For a content creator, it might be creating better content. For an employee, it might be developing valuable skills. Whatever the answer is, that activity deserves your best attention. The second step is scheduling deep work. Do not wait until you feel focused. Do not wait until you find time. Schedule it. Put it on your calendar. Treat it like an important appointment. Because it is. Most people protect meetings more carefully than they protect their goals. Deep workers do the opposite. They protect focused work first. Everything else comes second. Start with 1 hour per day. That's enough. One focused hour every day creates extraordinary results over time. Once that becomes comfortable, increase it. Consistency matters more than intensity. A single focused hour every day is more powerful than an occasional marathon session. The third step is creating a distraction-free environment. Before each deep work session, remove anything that might interrupt you. Silence your phone. Close unnecessary tabs. Turn off notifications. Clear your workspace. Make concentration easier. Remember, every distraction carries a hidden cost. Protecting your attention is protecting your results. The fourth step is setting a clear objective. Never begin a deep work session without knowing exactly what you're trying to accomplish. Vague goals create vague results. Specific goals create progress. Instead of saying, "I'll work on my business," decide exactly what you'll do. Instead of saying, "I'll study," decide exactly what you'll learn. Clarity increases focus. Your brain performs better when it knows where to direct its energy. The fifth step is embracing boredom. This may sound strange. Most people try to eliminate boredom immediately. But boredom is one of the training grounds for focus. Every time you resist the urge to check your phone, you're strengthening your attention. Every time you stay present instead of seeking stimulation, you're improving your concentration. Think of boredom as a workout for your mind. The stronger your ability to tolerate boredom, the stronger your ability to perform deep work. The sixth step is measuring progress. Many people quit because they don't see immediate results. But deep work is a long-term investment. Just like physical fitness, the benefits accumulate gradually. Track your focused hours. Celebrate consistency. Pay attention to improvements. Over time, you'll notice something remarkable. Tasks that once felt difficult become easier. Concentration lasts longer. Productivity increases. Learning accelerates. Results improve. The seventh step is protecting your evenings. One of Newport's most underrated ideas is the importance of recovery. You cannot operate at maximum intensity all the time. Your brain needs rest. When work ends, allow yourself to disconnect. Spend time with family. Exercise. Read. Relax. Sleep. Recovery is not a reward for hard work. Recovery is part of hard work. Without recovery, performance declines. With recovery, performance improves. This creates a sustainable system instead of a temporary burst of motivation. As you implement these steps, you'll begin noticing changes beyond productivity. You'll feel more in control. More intentional. Less reactive. Instead of constantly responding to the world, you'll start shaping your future. And that's one of the most powerful outcomes of deep work. It shifts you from reaction to creation. Most people spend their lives reacting. Reacting to notifications. Reacting to requests. Reacting to distractions. Deep workers create. They create opportunities. They create skills. They create value. And over time, those creations compound. Imagine where you could be 1 year from now if you dedicated just one focused hour every day to your most important goal. Imagine 2 years. Imagine 5 years. The difference would be extraordinary. Not because of luck. Not because of talent. But because of consistent focused effort. This is the hidden power of deep work. Small actions repeated daily produce massive results over time. A single hour may not seem significant. But hundreds of focused hours transform lives. They build businesses. They create expertise. They produce achievements. They unlock potential. And perhaps most importantly, they help you become the person you're capable of becoming. The modern world will continue becoming more distracting. Notifications will continue. Social media will continue. New technologies will continue competing for your attention. That reality isn't going away. But your response to it is a choice. You can allow distractions to control your life. Or you can take ownership of your attention. Every day, that choice belongs to you. And every day, that choice shapes your future. This brings us to the final and most important lesson of deep work. Your attention is your life. Whatever you focus on consistently becomes your reality. Protect it. Invest it wisely. And use it to build something meaningful. Because in a world full of distractions, the ability to focus may be the greatest competitive advantage you can develop. And the people who master that ability are often the people who achieve the extraordinary. As we reach the end of this summary, let's take a moment to reflect on the most important lesson from deep work. The world is changing faster than ever before. Every day, new technologies compete for your attention. Notifications constantly interrupt your thoughts. Social media platforms are designed to keep you engaged. Information never stops flowing. In this environment, distraction has become normal. But here's the opportunity. Because distraction is normal, focus has become rare. And because focus is rare, it has become incredibly valuable. This is the core message of Cal Newport's book. The ability to perform deep work is one of the most valuable skills you can develop in the 21st century. Not because it helps you work harder, but because it helps you work better. Throughout this summary, we've seen that deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on cognitively demanding tasks. We've learned that shallow work keeps people busy, while deep work creates meaningful results. We've discovered that deep work accelerates learning, improves productivity, increases creativity, and helps people produce work at an elite level. We've also learned that focus is not something you're born with. It's a skill. And like every skill, it can be trained. The people who consistently practice deep work gain advantages that continue growing over time. They learn faster. They create more value. They solve bigger problems. They achieve goals that once seemed impossible. Most importantly, they take control of their attention instead of allowing distractions to control them. Think about your own life for a moment. What goal matters most to you right now? Maybe it's building a business. Maybe it's growing a YouTube channel. Maybe it's improving your career. Maybe it's learning a new skill. Maybe it's achieving financial freedom. Whatever your goal is, imagine dedicating focused attention to it every single day. Not once a month. Not when motivation appears. Every day. Imagine what could happen after 1 year of consistent deep work. Imagine the skills you could develop. The progress you could make. The opportunities you could create. Most people underestimate what they can accomplish in the long term because they're focused on short-term distractions. Deep work shifts your attention back to what truly matters. It teaches you to value progress over busyness, creation over consumption, purpose over distraction. And that's why this book is so powerful. It isn't really a book about productivity. It's a book about living intentionally. It's about deciding where your attention goes. Because ultimately, your attention becomes your life. Whatever receives your focus grows stronger. Whatever repeatedly receives your energy shapes your future. If distractions receive your attention, distractions shape your future. If meaningful goals receive your attention, meaningful goals shape your future. the choice belongs to you. Starting today, you don't need to become perfect. You don't need a complicated system. You don't need endless motivation. Just begin. Protect 1 hour. Focus on one important task. Remove distractions. Stay consistent, then. Repeat tomorrow. And the day after that. And the day after that. Small focused actions performed consistently create extraordinary outcomes. That's how skills are built. That's how careers are transformed. That's how dreams become reality. Remember, success is rarely about doing more things. It's usually about doing the right things with complete attention. In a distracted world, focus is a superpower. And the people who develop that superpower gain an advantage that compounds for years. So as you finish the summary, ask yourself one question. What is the single most important thing I should be focusing on right now? Whatever your answer is, give it your full attention. Your future self will thank you for it. If you enjoyed this summary and learned something valuable, make sure to subscribe for more powerful book summaries, productivity lessons, success principles, and life-changing ideas from the world's best books. Also, let me know in the comments, what's the biggest distraction you're going to eliminate after watching this video? Thank you for watching. Keep learning. Keep growing. And most importantly, keep doing the deep work. See you in the next book summary.